who's going to win between DM and DKNG. We worked our way back here. DKNG was a 1 seed and Desktop Metal was also a 1 seed. So you're talking about some titans going at it here, guys. So I'm going to go ahead up and put the banner here, DM versus DKNG. And hold on. Some people are going to say I don't like DM because I put a lowercase N there. Let's go ahead and let's do it this way. So one of the things that I wanted to do here is while we talk about the two companies, you guys go ahead and start putting your votes. If you already got a vote, definitely press a 1 or 2 to join in there. But I wanted to do something a little bit different before we get a little too far from it. So one of the things that I want to do here is actually pull up their website. Why not pull up their website here, see a little bit what they have here going on. Let me accept some cookies here so they can go ahead and get my information. But we're talking right here, 3D printing, guys, and it's going to be interesting to see how they continue moving forward. We're talking Desktop Metals here, and it's something that is been needed before, and I think it wasn't pushed, but I think the pandemic kind of pushed this a little bit forward. What do you think here, Chris?
Yeah, I think 3D printing, right? And we heard 3D printing several years ago, right? And we saw these 3D printing companies, rocket higher. To me, this isn't 3D printing where you buy it for your house and you make, toys, or small items out of it. This is additive manufacturing. So we're talking about revolutionizing the industrial, factory, the workplace, right? Where instead of, making these huge, items for planes, for cars, you're able to actually print them, from a 3D printer with different materials that can save cost. They can help with energy, right? So when you talk about cars and planes, you want cheap and you want, energy efficient. So if Desktop Metal and, competitors as well can make it more efficient, they're going to win long term. So to me, with Desktop Metal, again, it's the timeline. How quick does this win? And also the thing that really struck me on their last earnings report was they also are entering the healthcare field, right? So they're working on 3D printing, health items. I think it was orthodontics they talked about, right? So anyone who has kids, you may have seen a mold before, right, of teeth that's 3D printed and it shows your kid's teeth. Desktop Metal also getting into that space, and on the other side, DraftKings, but here Desktop Metal, and also worth noting here, Mitch, Kathy Wood and ARK Funds owns both of these companies, right? One's in the 3D printing ETF and DraftKings is in a couple other ARK ETFs. So to me, Desktop Metal has a very exciting future. I think 3D printing, when you talk additive manufacturing and industrial, I think is going to be a high growth area going forward. What do you think about Desktop Metal? I think the old mute trick there.
The old damn mute trick.
Every time.
One thing I'd say about Desktop Metals is that, what is the alternative here? And I think that's what you need to ask yourself. If the alternative is not using 3D to kind of get these printing and get that mass production, then it's actually us doing the manufacturing. And that's just way too expensive. And so that we've been looking for ways to get these manufacturing, these designs down packed. And so you're seeing right here, all the availability, manufacturing, heavy industry, machine, like Chris mentioned, education, consumer goods, automotive. There's just so many fields that they can get into. And then what happens is that I think certain fields are going to adapt faster than others. And then you'll see their revenue increase in those certain fields. I honestly am blown away by these 3D companies because there's so many of them, but they all have great projections. And so one of the things that I'd say is that it's probably meaning that the industry as a whole is going to become a massive industry. And so keep your eye on these, whether it be Desktop Metal. I mean, we could talk about others in the SPACs, but definitely on my radar. Let's go ahead and let's get into some DraftKings here. I know a lot of people are talking already in the chat. Let me go ahead and catch up here. Let me see some of the chat here. So it's Rick House saying DM is the future. So it's going to be interesting here. 3D printing human organs. I don't know if they're doing that yet, but if they're going to do it,
I don't think they're doing that yet, but it's definitely coming in the space. So who knows? And Desktop Metal has been a company that has acquired several other smaller companies. So now that Desktop Metal is public, we could really see, the M&A space ramp up for 3D printing. So what's to stop Desktop Metal from, expanding, some of these other areas by the acquisition route?
Yeah, someone talking about space use for 3D printing. DM isn't really there just yet, but I could see them stepping into the field.
So that's going to be highly competitive. There's several 3D printing companies working with space companies, and I think maybe long term that could be, an area. But to me, I think Desktop Metal, being involved with these industrial partners, is a bigger deal than going to space right now.
Yeah, I've seen the printing of the organs, but the question is, will DM be in that? And that was my kind of question more along here. So that's why I brought that up. Let's get into some DraftKings. So one of the things I want to talk about, guys, and I'll bring up the website here so you guys can see a little bit more, is, of course, bonuses bringing the attention. And then look, this is what I always talk about, guys. This is the most important thing. State by state, you're going to start seeing this chart turn green, guys. These states are going to slowly go green. I think you'll see Florida go green. You're going to start seeing multiple states trying to push towards it, because it's really, at least in my understanding, there's no reason why sports betting should be illegal. If I can go buy a gun, if I can go to war, if I can do all this, why can't I sports gamble in my home, in my hometown? I don't need to be flying out to Vegas. I can just do it from home. And that's why I love
at that green
Colorado.
Out there. Look at that green out
lonely,
west.
Who's
that lonely state out there?
We need some help out here. We need some help, so that's going to be interesting. Of course, DraftKings has their pools where you're going to go ahead and play. You can do anything from football games to your favorite shows. They got promotions. They have missions. They have over 10 million registered users, $7 billion already paid out, and the number one rating sports app here. It's going to be interesting. I know they stepped up from their original fantasy kind of move, and I think they kind of were thinking of ways around sports betting at first. And they'll probably kill me for this one, but they were working their way around sports betting first by doing fantasy. And then when it became legal and they were able to do it, they just jumped on the horse,
and props to them, because what a way to gain potential customers. And they're already doing it, right? You look at all those gray states. What is DraftKings? And their competitor FanDuel, what do they have in those gray states already? They have an existing user base that already use DraftKings and FanDuel for daily fantasy. So when those states turn green, all they have to do is flip on the app, send out an email and a promotion, right, to all these customers, and then they get them to bet on sports and not just do daily fantasy. I saw it firsthand here in Michigan, right? As soon as we went legalized, DraftKings, sends out the email. I had already done daily fantasy with DraftKings. They sent me an email. Hey, you like sports? I bet you like to bet on sports too, right? It's that easy. And Mitch, they're doing the same thing in Canada, right? They launched daily fantasy in Canada, and Canada's working on legalizing sports betting similar to the US, where it would be province by province. DraftKings is going to have a head start there. This is a highly competitive, market. There's over a dozen companies, right, with sports betting and iGaming, but really there's 3 or 4 that stand out and dominate in terms of market share. DraftKings is one of them, and DraftKings is in more states than any of the competitors. So to me, that's a key advantage, going forward.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to watch the competition between the gambling companies. But one thing that has been said is that DraftKings is what I call kind of that spender, that cash cow, willing to spend in the industry to make it to wherever they need to make it. So it's kind of like a perfect example, I would say, to compare to DraftKings, and it's completely different, but Netflix is a perfect example, because Netflix took it on themselves to say, hey, I know we're spending some cash, but we don't care because we need users first. Users is our first focus. We're going to get whatever content we need. We need to buy it. We need to make it, whatever it needs to be. But we're going to get our users, our base users. And once we grow that to a massive amount, then we can use that to monetize and kind of push towards profitability. But at first, it's about collecting the group, the users. And I think that's what you're starting to see with DraftKings. They're definitely collecting the users. And one of the things is, you're starting to see is that they use the right people. They use people like, let's say, my man Marshawn Lynch here, and they know how to get into your mind with the influencers, with the athletes. You guys see the commercials all the time on TV, whether it be kind of the guy from Suns, the Suns basketball team. What's his name? Booker. I've seen him. Yep. Yeah, Devin Booker. He has commercials. So let's go ahead and let's give it to a vote now. Press 1 or 2. Join in, guys. The battle here is press 1 for DM, 2 for DKNG. Who's gonna take it today? Who's gonna take the national SPAC championship here? So let's see what happens here. What's going on in the chat? What are you seeing out there, Chris?
Guys, yeah, don't forget to vote. We've been talking about this matchup for a little while, but 1 for DM, 2 for DKNG. Mitch, compared to our last round of matchups that were, pretty close, I'm seeing more of a slant here towards DraftKings, with 2s getting more votes right now. So we'll wait a second for some more last minute votes, but otherwise I think we have a champion being crowned, in this first March SPACness tournament.
Well, Chris, we're going to have to see what happens, but it is looking like that is what's coming true here. So the only thing I would have to say is DKNG isn't here to celebrate, but this is all I'm seeing. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Winner, chicken dinner, baby. You already know it. DraftKings takes the national SPAC championship here, guys. We're going to have to get DKNG on here. I don't know if that dance we can do when they're on, but I might have to do it in the back, just like, woo, woo, woo.
There it is, guys. Your national champion. And Mitch, I think someone pointed out in the chat, if you pull that bracket back up, where was DraftKings located on that bracket? Because I believe it was it Baylor? Was that the top right?
It was the Baylor. It was Baylor. And they know it. They know it,
guys. March SPACness going in line with the national championship. With Baylor, there it is. Happy Mohammed. Baylor with the 2x win. You got it. So DraftKings winning the tournament. And guys, I have to agree. We had some great companies in this. I hope everyone had fun doing this too. We talked about some great companies. We also talked about maybe some unknown or undervalued companies. Mitch, I know DMS, Digital Media Solutions, right? The advertising play that was in one of those early rounds. And we heard, John Janarone talk about it on the show a couple weeks ago. So to me, you've got 64 companies now that you can, dive into, do some more research, or you can look at our Final Four or the Elite Eight and really see what the chat and what, viewers out there are liking for 2021. And also some of the comments about maybe a couple years away. So maybe those are the ones that you put on a watch list or you stock aside in an IRA. So they're not going to win March SPACness this year, but maybe they win, down the road.